Ames International. We find and grow your leaders. And welcome to the Tips and Tricks podcast series, written by Gregoire Depassage and Leonie Pence. In our practice as executive search and HR consultants, we are confronted daily with candidates, their history, their approach, their beliefs, right or wrong, their attitudes and tactics, and are privileged observers of their interaction with recruiters and line managers. This is an attempt to share the lessons learned and give some practical tips as to how to improve your chances in the market. Some of the things listed will seem obvious, but you'd be surprised by how often we see even seasoned managers make mistakes they could easily avoid. This is episode 3, Preparing Your CV, Your Sales Brochure. In our last episode, we talked about presence on social networks and gave some tips about building your profile, but without looking at actual content. So, today we give you some tips for your CV, but these tips also apply to your online profile, which is nothing less than a resume. There's a lot of literature and readings and all this information about the ideal resume format, and a lot of people are trying to take advantage of people by selling resume writing. Now, one should not forget that it is not the form of the CV that is going to get you a job, but your actual knowledge, experience, and capabilities. Your resume is just your sales brochure, not the product itself. At the time, it could be your only chance to secure a personal meeting. Here are a few tips to increase the chances of your CV being read and understood. Go for a classic format. There's a lot of hype about these multimedia CVs. These days, sending people to websites or preparing a video CV can be nice as a compliment to your classic document or for very special jobs, but recruiters don't have time to watch hundreds of videos and click themselves through all the websites and web pages that you send them. They will invest only a few seconds to decide if they are going to read your resume in detail or not. This is why a classic format with 3 blocks is your best option. These blocks, most of the time, might include personal data, your work experience, studies, and language. This will allow the recruiter to scan companies, positions, languages, and schools, which is basically what he or she is interested in. For example, there is nothing more annoying in a CV when it's structured by capabilities and mixing up all the different work experiences. So let's stick to the normal. Definitely use a good picture of yourself. A resume is something impersonal, and the picture's really the only way you can establish an emotional link with the person reading it. No matter how good looking or young you are or aren't, you can project a positive image with a good photo. As for discrimination, if somebody wants to discriminate, they'll do so sooner rather than later. So you stand nothing to lose, really. The photo will also increase the probability of the reader remembering you. The key is to ensure it is a great photo and portrays the right image. For example, if you are applying for a CFO role, clean-cut, professional, smart, and serious sounds about right. For a creative director, for instance, fashionable, on-trend, and well-groomed might also be a good option. Along the same line, you can share some short info about your family and maybe your interests as well, as these will also help building you a human image for the person reading. Don't overdo it on the soft skills. Stick to facts and don't put too much soft stuff in your CV. It doesn't add any value to fill summaries with superlatives like widely respected and innovative people leader and recognized strategic thinker with a global footprint. Oh, goodness. Recruiters are interested in your technical skills first. If those are a match for the position, you can be sure they will contact you. It is only thereafter that they will focus on your personality. Don't lie or hide information. Not stating your age if you are over the retirement threshold or hiding the fact that you already left your previous company will create a very bad impression and undermine trust at the outset. This is to be avoided at all costs. Don't have too many versions of your CV. Cultures differ. In an Anglo-Saxon environment, it is expected to list one's achievements with numbers and using superlatives. In fact, the advertisements and job descriptions are also often exaggerated. Whilst in continental Europe, for example, a more modest approach is preferred. This cultural difference also applies to companies with American multinationals having different expectations as opposed to those of a European group or an SME, so you should certainly adapt your CV. On the other hand, you should not forget that you have no real control over what happens to your resume once it's out there, and so the content should not be widely different from one version to another, and importantly, not contradict the information on your social network profiles. Don't keep it short. Don't try to keep your resume down to 1 or 2 pages if you already have a long career path. In this instance, rather have a first page capturing essential facts like contact data, family situation and your mobility, job history with your titles, company, industry, location, dates, and a few relevant keywords for each role, languages, and education. Then give more details about each role on the following pages. If the recruiter is interested after glancing at the first page, they'll be happy to have complimentary information. The first page is key. Don't waste it on curriculum vitae, name, and a 38 font brush script. Don't use acronyms or abbreviations. You should never assume that people will understand them or know your company, industry, or job title. Even if your company is important, in a global world, you can no longer expect everybody to know about your specific market. The first person to scan your resume may well be sitting on the other side of the planet. State your industry and give essential data about your company. If your job title is unclear, make sure to describe your role in a few short words or exchange it to something more common with the same meaning. If they have an opening that fits your profile, you can be certain that they will make contact. Be efficient and professional. Send your resume by email in PDF format. This will be nicer to look at, and the recruiter will not be able to see how advanced you are in the use of word processing software. If you are sending other documents with your CV, avoid the zip with unrecognizable file names or sending multiple attachments. Regroup everything into one PDF and make sure the file is not too large. There are some excellent free compression tools available. Make use of them. Also use the international format of a plus and country code for your cell phone number. Do not assume people will know how to call you and understand that not specifying the country code may come across as arrogant. Finally, when inserting your personal email, ensure that it does not create a bad impression due to the wording. If it's too colorful, as they say, create a new one. Watch out for typos, especially in company names or titles. Yes, we mean it. Spelling mistakes are unlikely to eliminate you if your profile matches the position, but it could create a bad impression. Also, make sure to use an easy-to-read font and sentence case. There's an infinity of things we have no control over once we send out our CV, so we might as well make sure that what we can check is flawless. Also check page breaks and other potential format problems before pressing send. Don't invest too much time in the cover letter. Most recruiters will not read it at all and go directly to the resume. You can have a few lines with essential facts for this role in the email you send with your CV. Be careful with your references. While it may be common in some countries to include references directly in your resume, we recommend not doing so or writing upon request. References are normally checked at the end of the hiring process, and in most countries, recruiters won't approach references without telling you first. It might be even illegal and is certainly considered unethical in many countries. This will also give you a chance to select the right references for the position, and obviously to brief them before the call with the recruiter. In short, make sure you create a professional impression, that the essential information about you can be found at a glance, and that you come across as a human being rather than an impersonal profile. Hey, thank you so much for listening to the Tips and Tricks podcast. Head over to our website, aimsinternational.com, for all 6 episodes of the series. Have any questions? Be sure to contact us. Ames International, we find and grow your leaders.